Somewhere on this earth, on a remote island that no modern map has identified, there is a beast. It is a creature so strange, so terrifying to look at, that you cannot tell its front from its back. It is covered in thick, matted hair. It speaks a human language, and it is waiting, but it is not waiting alone. It is guarding a prisoner, a man who is chained with irons heavier than anything humanity has ever forged, a man who is desperate for news of the outside world, a man who asks about specific lakes and specific trees and specific prophets. This beast is the spy, and the prisoner is the Antichrist. We often think of the Antichrist as a future event, a prophecy that will happen one day. Far from now, we imagine he will be born in the future or appear out of thin air. But the shocking truth, confirmed by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is that the Antichrist is already here. He is alive. He is breathing. He is chained on an island, perhaps in the Mediterranean, perhaps in the Arabian Sea, waiting for the single link of his chain to break. And he has a spy who watches the world for him. This is the true, authenticated story of the only human beings who ever met him face to face and lived to tell the tale. This is the story of the beast, the spy, and the island of the Dajjal. The story begins not with a prophecy, but with a voyage. In the time of the Prophet, there was a Christian man named Tamim. He was a sailor, a traveler, a man of the sea. He was not a Muslim. He had no interest in the new religion rising in the deserts of Arabia. He set sail with a crew of 30 men from the tribes of Lakam and Judam. It was meant to be a normal voyage, but the sea had other plans. A massive storm hit their ship. The waves rose like mountains. The sky turned black for a full month. They were tossed around like a toy in a washing machine. They lost all sense of direction. They didn't know if they were sailing east or west, north or south. They were completely at the mercy of the ocean. Finally, as the sun began to set on the 30th day, the storm broke. In the fading twilight, they saw land, an island. Desperate, exhausted, and terrified, they lowered the lifeboats and rowed towards the shore. They landed on the beach in the darkness of the night. They were safe, or so they thought. As they explored the island, they encountered something that made their blood run cold. It was a beast, but it wasn't like a lion or a wolf. It was something they had never seen before. Tamim described it vividly. He said it was a beast covered in such thick, abundant hair that they could not distinguish its face from its back. It was a walking mound of fur. They were terrified. They stepped back, hands on their swords. They thought it was a wild animal, perhaps a demon. And then the beast spoke in clear human language. It said, "Woe to you! What are you?" The sailors were stunned. A talking beast. They shouted back, "Woe to you! What are you?" The beast replied, "I am the spy. I am the Jassasa." The word Jassasa comes from the root word for spying or seeking news. This creature's entire purpose, its entire existence, was to gather intelligence. The sailors asked, "Who are you spying for? What do you want?" The beast did not answer their questions. Instead, it gave them a command. It pointed towards the center of the island, where an old abandoned monastery stood. It said, "You people, go to this man in the monastery, for he is very eager to know your news." A man in the monastery? The sailors were now even more terrified. They whispered to each other, "This beast is a devil, and the man in the monastery must be Satan himself." But they had no choice, driven by fear and curiosity. They left the beast and ran towards the monastery. They wanted to get away from the hairy creature as fast as possible. They entered the ruins of the building, and inside they saw a sight that froze them in their tracks. There was a man, but he was not like any man they had ever seen. Tamim described him as the largest human being he had ever laid eyes on. A giant, he was powerfully built, intense, and terrifying. But it wasn't his size that scared them. It was his condition. He was bound in chains that defied logic. His hands were tied to his neck with iron shackles. His knees were bound to his ankles with iron fetters. He was trussed up like a captured beast, unable to move, unable to stand, forced into a crouched, restricted position. The man looked at them with eyes that burned with intelligence and desperation. He spoke. His voice was booming. "Who are you?" Tamim and his men replied, "We are people from Arabia. We sailed a ship, and the waves tossed us for a month. And we landed on your island. We met a beast who told us to come to you." The chained man nodded. He didn't care about their journey. He cared about the world outside. He began an interrogation, and his questions were specific. They were the questions of a strategist who is watching the clock. He asked, "Tell me about the date palms of Bison. Do they still bear fruit?" Bison is a region in Palestine. The sailors, confused, looked at each other. "Yes," they said, "they bear fruit." The chained man said, "Soon." "They will not bear fruit." Then he asked, "Tell me about the Lake of Tiberias. Is there still water in it?" "The Lake of Tiberias, also known as the Sea of Galilee," the sailor said. "Yes, it is full of water. People drink from it and irrigate their crops." The chained man shook his head. "Soon, its water will disappear." Then he asked, "Tell me about the spring of Zugar. Does the water still flow? Do the people still grow crops with it?" They said, "Yes, the spring is full. The people use it for farming." The chained man said nothing to this, but moved to his most important question, the question that seemed to make him tremble in his chains. "Tell me about the prophet of the Gentiles. What has he done?" The prophet of the Gentiles, he was asking about Muhammad. "Peace be upon him," the sailors replied. "He has left Mecca and settled in Medina." The chained man leaned forward as much as his chains allowed. "Have the Arabs fought him?" They said yes. "And how did he deal with them?" They explained, "He has overcome those around him, and they have submitted to him." The chained man took a deep breath. "Has it really happened?" They said yes. He said, "It is better for them if they obey him." Then the chained man went silent. He looked at the sailors, 30 men trembling in a dark monastery on a lost island, and he decided to reveal his identity. He said, "I will tell you about myself. I am the false Messiah. I am the Antichrist." The sailors stopped breathing. The monster of legends, the end of the world. He was sitting right in front of them. He continued, his voice filled with a terrifying longing. "I am close to being permitted to leave. I shall come out and travel the land. I will not spare any town, but I will stay in it for 40 nights, except for Mecca and Medina. These 2 cities are forbidden to me. Every time I try to enter them, an angel with an unsheathed sword will confront me and block my way." He spoke with absolute certainty. He knew his future, he knew his mission, he knew his limits. Tamim and his men fled. They ran from the monastery, ran past the spy, and scrambled back to their ship. They set sail immediately, desperate to put an ocean between them and that island. When they finally returned to Arabia, Tamim ad-Dari did not go home. He went straight to the city of Medina. He found the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He converted to Islam on the spot, and then he told him the story. He told him about the storm, the island, the beast, the chained man, the questions about the lake and the date palms. The Prophet's reaction was extraordinary. He did not say, "You are crazy." He did not say, "This is a dream." He smiled, a smile of joy and confirmation. He called the people to the mosque. The prayer is gathering. The entire city assembled. They sat down, and the Prophet stood on the pulpit. He looked at them and said, "I have not gathered you to give you a command or a warning, but Tamim ad-Dari, a Christian man, has come and accepted Islam, and he told me a story that agrees exactly with what I have been telling you about the false Messiah." He then recounted the entire story to the people. He told them about the spy. He told them about the chains. He told them about the questions. And then the Prophet, peace be upon him, struck his staff on the pulpit 3 times. emphasizing the reality of it. He is in the Sea of Syria or the Sea of Yemen. No, rather he is in the east, and he pointed towards the east. This story is not a myth. It is a documented reality, and it leaves us with a terrifying realization. The Antichrist is not coming into existence. He is already existing. He is alive right now. As you listen to this, somewhere on a lonely island, the beast is watching, the spy is waiting, and the false Messiah is straining against his chains. But the most chilling part of the story is the specific questions he asked. He didn't ask about technology. He didn't ask about empires. He asked about nature. He asked about the date palms of Bazan. Today in our time, the date palms of that region have largely stopped bearing fruit. They have declined significantly. The sign has come to pass. He asked about the Lake of Tiberias, the Sea of Galilee. For centuries, it was full, but in the last few decades, water levels have dropped to historic lows. We are watching the water disappear. Just as he predicted, he asked about the prophet of the Gentiles. The prophet has come and gone, and his message has spread to every corner of the globe. The chained man knew that when these signs appeared, his release was near. We are living in the time of the dry lake. We are living in the time of the barren palms. The chains are rusting, the permission is close, the spy, the Jasasha, is a creature of hair and mystery, but the real spy is the state of the world itself. The Antichrist is watching the news. He is waiting for the tipping point, and we must ask ourselves, if he is waiting and he is ready, are we? The prophet, peace be upon him, confirmed this story to warn us. He wanted us to know that the threat is physical, real, and imminent. He gave us the weapons to fight it. He gave us the first 10 verses of the cave chapter. He gave us the refugee in prayer. But the greatest weapon is awareness. The next time you see the news of drought or conflict or chaos, remember the man in the monastery. Remember that he is watching, and remember that we have a protector who is greater than him, greater than his spy, and greater than his chains. The beast may be alive, the false Messiah may be waiting, but the believer is preparing.